Joshua Bassett is here with me on Apple Music One. How are you?
Yo, I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing really, really good. This coffee's kicking in.
Beautiful.
I'm feeling lovely. I'm excited to talk about your debut album.
Oh yeah, baby.
I was lurking your TikTok earlier.
Oh boy.
Because I was like doing my research as one does in this job role. Because I was like, oh, is there anything that the fans want me to ask? Is there anything that I should look for? Because I like to be the connecting piece for them, because they're not going to be able to sit in a room with you and ask about this album. So I wanted to be there. But I think the cool thing that I noticed on social is how silly you are on social media and how you're just so open with your fans and the relationship I think you've built through social media and them just being like, where's the project? Where's the project? Where's the project? Because I was like scrolling back and you're like, it's coming. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Yes.
But it's not like you haven't been working. You've been, yes, on the album, but also, wrapping up the High School Musical, the musical show and doing all of that. So it's like, there's just so much on your plate. To get to that and to get to this moment, I think has probably been a long time coming for you.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. There's been a lot of, ups and downs. And there's plenty of times where I thought like the album is done. And like, I think maybe 7 months ago, I thought the album was done and none of those songs ended up on the album because it just kept writing. It kept writing.
Way.
I mean, there's some songs that have carried through like 5 years. So, like literally there's a song, maybe it's 4 years. The first and the last song are actually the oldest songs that I wrote.
Wow.
And they just kept coming with me. I kept writing more, but I was always like, there's something special about those. So I just didn't feel like it was the right time, And so anyways, it's definitely been a journey. And there's also been quite a roller coaster of me like feeling inspired and excited and then just like completely depressed and completely hopeless and just like screw it all. And like, I'll go into the studio and write like some of my favorite songs I've ever written in like 3 days. And then I'll like disappear for weeks. And my team's like, what's going on? I'm just like, I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, it's been a journey. I think it's been interesting to see the parallels between my mental health and the music journey and how those have really been hand in hand,
I mean, not only that though, if you're going into the studio and you're being vulnerable, which most artists are, right? Like it could be very cathartic, but it could also open up things maybe that you do want to talk about or don't want to talk about that end up on a song. And that could be heavy stuff sometimes. And then it's like, okay, I'm good for a minute.
Yeah.
I just like laid out my heart and opened up myself to so many people and wrote this. And now I want a moment.
Yes. It's definitely the deep digging that creates the best stuff.
1,000%.
And it's interesting how like there was one day I went to the studio and we were working on this like a kind of house track. Like it was like very techno and like it was just like weird and I just could not come up with a melody to save my life. I was so stuck and was not inspired and I was feeling so blech and I just like went outside to take a break and I all of me wanted to leave and just be like, let's just call it. It was a dead day.
For sure.
And then I just remember that like every time I get in that area where I'm stuck and I push just a little bit past that discomfort, I write some of my favorite stuff ever. And I remember literally thinking that thought of like, just stay a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I went back in and wrote Mirror in 10 minutes. It was literally like, just all came out.
You had to get it out.
It was because I didn't escape the discomfort. I walked through it.
Yeah.
And because I was able to sit with it and walk through it, one of my favorite songs on the album came out of that. So it's pretty cool.
The album, by the way, is The Golden Years. There's a song in the album called The Golden Years.
Correct.
And was the first taste, I think, of the project, of the debut. But why was that song so special to you that it became the title of the debut album?
Tommy English and Jeremy Hatcher, the producers, our first day together, we wrote that song and there was just a magic to it. And it just kind of locked into place like the thesis for the album of like, these are the golden years for better or worse, right? It's some of the best moments of my life and some of the absolute worst. And so I just remember there was a moment where we all kind of looked at each other. I'm even getting chills now. Like when that locked in that concept, we were all kind of like, whoa, this is something pretty special. And then we just continue to work together for the rest of the album, and that theme kind of seemed to resonate, and again, like I feel like we talk about so many different things in the album that kind of is the umbrella for it, but that one just captured my heart, and it was one that I just kept coming back to, and so I was like, this has to be the first one. It sets the tone for the whole project, and it's cool too because like the Golden Years, like we're also kind of going through a bunch of different genres in the album, you know, and like
1000%
goes so many different lanes that it's just it goes through kind of a journey in time, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say with that song too, and having that moment, did you know, like, was there a moment where you're like, oh, we're writing the debut album? Did you go into the studio like, I'm gonna write because you know, it's not, you're always writing, artists are always writing, you know, for those who are listening, it's like you're always in the studio, you're always working on something. But was there that moment where you're like, things are shifting, things are happening, I think this is happening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was an exact moment. I feel like I've been literally trying to write the album for 5 years.
Right.
But what happens is I'll get like 6 solid songs, and then the label's like, let's just put out an EP, and I'm like, but the album, and they're like, well, let's just put out an EP, and so I finally put my foot down because I think they even I don't want to telling them, but I think like 6 months ago they just wanted to put out another EP, and I was like, I'm sorry, like we can't do it anymore.
It's because the fans are waiting and they're ready, and I think sometimes in the meantime it's like, well, let's give them something solid, and an EP is so much easier to deliver as a solid project than a whole debut album that needs to be, you know, 10 tracks or more.
100%. Yeah, I totally understand. It's definitely a big feat to do now, but I was just at the point where I'm like, okay, we've been doing this for quite a few years now. Like it's time, exactly. And so, you know, it took a while, but I remember there was a moment in the studio, like right when we were finishing up, where I used to be frustrated about how long it was taking to do my debut album.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment where I was like, wow, I'm actually grateful that it took this long because of how much I believe in it now and how much I love it. And I think it's the best it could possibly be.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was actually so worth waiting and finding these producers and really getting into the groove of it and going through the journey of, I love these songs, I hate these songs. I mean, sometimes in a single day, I'll listen to one of my songs and be like, this is trash. And then like an hour later, I hear it again. I'm like, wait, this is kind of fire. So it's
Am I talented?
No, but you know, it's like, it's been a journey, but it's so worth the wait, I think, for the album.
If I would have known those were the golden years, I would have held you longer than now when you kissed me goodbye through your tears. If I would have known those were the golden years, I would have never left you alone when you needed me most, my dear. 'Cause those were the golden years.
I think that there's nothing more special to an artist too, because I talk to so many artists for their debut albums of like, this is the album of you putting out into the world, where maybe people listen to EPs and who you are, but if somebody's going to be introduced to you as an artist within the next year and they go to listen to something of who Joshua Bassett is as an artist, like this is the project.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you feel so proud of it, you know, and you're not going to look back and be like, I rushed it out.
Totally.
Like you're having that moment where you're like, the timing is right. Yes, I had to wait, and your fans had to wait as well.
Yes.
But now you're getting to put out something that you are 1,000% proud of, which I think is so important and so special.
Totally. Thank you.
You only get one debut album, you know?
And it lives forever, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny because if I were to play you some of the songs that like a year ago, I would have put on the album.
Yeah.
I listen to them now and I'm like, oh, those are terrible. Or they're not terrible, they're just like,
It's not what you wanted.
And
not
so,
the vibe that you have now.
So I'm just glad that those didn't make it. But maybe they'll make a secret deluxe album at some point.
Oh, we love that. A little teaser.
We'll see.
11 songs, by the way, on this album. Is there one that you just could not wait for the fans to hear? You're like, damn, like this one. And I know it probably changes, but I know there's also a couple songs probably that you were like, these have to make the album.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
Yes. Dancing with Tears in My Eyes is like my favorite. Flames. I think Dancing with Tears in My Eyes is like such a fresh sound. And
Flames! Sorry.
Flames! I know, I say it ironically.
No, I loved it. It made me laugh so hard. My intrusive thoughts, I told you, I'm not trying to cut you off.
No, please cut me off. It started as a irony, and now I say it like without thinking, but anyways.
I like it. I'm going to start saying it
Fire
too.
Flames.
Yeah.
But anyways, Dancing with Tears in My Eyes.
Yes.
Speaking of flames, there's a song called Wildfire.
Wait, that's one of my favorites on the album. I wrote down some of my favorites.
I almost said flames again. Fire.
Flames.
It's fire. Love Wildfire. It's very like songwritery. Kind of has a weird like Stevie Wonder like vocal thing that I was doing that I went to like a different place there, I feel like, in the songwriting. It was just such a fun day. I love that song. Circles is cool because it's like Casey Musgraves.
That's also one of my favorites from the album. Let's go.
I want to know your least favorite of the album, but we can talk offline.
No, there's no least favorites.
Oh, come on.
It's just that when I'm listening, which I do before all of my interviews, I listen to the album because I want to really dive in and see like what's the world that you've created. And then whenever I'm listening, I try to go back and put in my notes like, okay, which one do I want? Like what song do I want to go back to and like listen to it again immediately? Or it made me feel something where I'm like, oh, I have to go back because that evoked something.
Totally,
in me. But Circles was one of my favorites. Wildfire.
Close to the sun, we let it burn, then called it love. There's smoke filling our lungs. Oh, would you look what we've become? Oh, you asked for a light, now we started a wildfire.
I love the way you close out the album with Look How Far You've Come. I think that that's just such a beautiful song and a beautiful idea. And I think that what you're trying to portray with the golden years, and there is something so heartbreaking about growing up and kind of like these different changes that you go through in life. So I think ending on that note is just like so perfect.
Thank you. You know what's very interesting about that song? I wrote it, like I said, 4 years ago. And I was in a tough spot, and I'm still kind of in a tough spot, but it's been quite the journey. But I recorded vocals like 3.5 years ago for that. And then I re-recorded vocals when like the last song I recorded on the album was that, and we merged the two together. So you hear me from 4 years ago and me from a month ago at the same time. And it's cool because it's like a sandwich of like, look how far you've come. So that's a cool little Easter egg there. But yeah, I definitely think the message of that is like something I really want people to walk away with. And it's cool because it kind of closes out you start the album with, I'm biting my tongue, I'm holding back on the things I want to say. And then throughout the album, you kind of say all the things you want to say. And then it's like, look how far you've come. You know, it's been such a journey, so.
Look how far you've come. You've been running for too long. What goes up comes back down, just to circle back around. I know you're not kneeling down when you can't seem to get back up. Just look how far you've come.
All right, we're going to get into your top 3 songs. I asked you for some of your inspirations, artists that you love, songs that you love, and so we're going to kick it off. And I think you have a very solid list, and me, having listened to your entire album already, these just make so much sense. I love it so much. The Beatles, Yesterday. Out of all the Beatles songs, by the way, why this one?
I remember there was a moment when I was 16. I had just moved out to LA on my own, and I was driving, and this song came on. And I hadn't fully heard it before, you know, like as a conscious human. And it hit me in a different way where I was like, oh, this is the peak of songwriting. And it's like so beautiful and simple. It's like the very minimalist elements, yet it just captured my heart. And I literally listened to it like 1,000 times in a row for the following 2 months, over and over again, just being like, there's just something magical about it. And again, it's like, I don't know, just the songwriting and Paul's voice and it's just perfect. It's a perfect song, in my opinion.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Your next one is from one of my favorite albums of all time.
It's one of the best albums of all time
Ever. Apple Music just did our 100 best albums, and this was on the list. And
What number was it?
I forgot. Not high enough in my book. But I love this album. I think it's so important. But anyways, Casey Musgraves, you picked Slow Burn. Again, I think it's very interesting that you picked a country song.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not necessarily country vibes per se.
Yeah.
But it is still a country artist.
It feels like this is a little more folky in songwriter than it is country.
Absolutely.
Don't kill me. I don't know which side's going to kill me for saying that.
No, but there is like a really vast umbrella over country music and what is country. But you're right. The way she writes this and takes this album does feel different.
Yeah, and I just think the vibe of it, like it's just so like, they're so in the pocket when they made this, and like it's just on a different wavelength. And the instrumentation is really something that I feel like influenced the album. Like Biting My Tongue, like even just this song being the first song in the album gave me permission to put Biting My Tongue as the first song on the album, where it's not like necessarily a banger, but it kind of brings you into the album in a slow way, but builds, you know? And anyways, yeah, this whole album, if I could have picked, I would have picked this whole album.
Yeah.
And it was between this or Rainbow, but
beautiful.
Or Happy and Sad. I mean, all of them. So anyways, that's personally why. I also saw her at the Greek.
Yeah.
Or the Hollywood Bowl, one of the two.
Yeah, no, I think she was at the Greek, yeah.
Oh my gosh, bro. That was like my favorite concert of my entire life.
Wait, I was at that show too.
No way. It was the best.
And she's just incredible.
Yeah.
And her vocals and just her energy. That was a while ago. But I
So
love that
beautiful,
show.
yeah.
I'm alright with a slow burn. Taking my time, let the world turn. I'm gonna do it my way, it'll be alright. If we burn it down and it takes all night, it's a slow burn. Yeah.
Your number one song. This is who I was talking about earlier, where I feel and hear so much inspiration from him. And even, don't hate me, I don't know, but even from One Direction a little bit, because Harry wrote so much of their music and of their songs, like him and Niall wrote so much of their music. So I hear a little bit of that too, but in the best possible way. It's like more of like homage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jeremy Hatcher worked on this album, and the producer for The Golden Years worked on this album and his last album. And so there's naturally going to be like that influence in there. So yeah, I also think I was debating whether or not to do this song or something from the first album, because I am personally, this is somehow a hot take, even though I think the world's wrong about this. I think his first album is his best album by a landslide.
I love the first album.
The first album is so
It's so
iconic. Like, it's probably my top 3 albums of all time is his first album.
Two Ghost?
Oh, forget about it.
Get out of here.
I mean, like, the drums in Biting My Tongue sound like Ever Since New York, and I just love that.
Oh, okay. When I was listening, there was like things that made me feel nostalgic in the song or rung a bell, but I didn't necessarily know where it was from, but I knew. And now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh, I hear it and I get it and I feel it.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, everyone knows I'm a big Harry fan, so I feel like it just naturally influenced the album.
In this world, it's just us. You know it's not the same as it was, as it was, as it was. You know it's not the same.
But wait, why As It Was out of all the songs? If you love the first album so much, why this one?
I know. I just felt like this one's very like just focused and singular and like such a good representation of like Harry.
For sure.
Which this is another thing that I might get in trouble for. I actually didn't like the song when it came out.
Okay.
I heard it and I was like, lame. And then and then it like
All
grew
the
on me
Harry
and
and
it
Nets are
became
gonna be like-
hear me out. I just for some reason was underwhelmed.
Okay, that's fair.
I want to redact lame from the record.
Yeah.
I was slightly underwhelmed.
Okay.
And I was just like, he'd been gone for a few years and he came back with this. But then it grew on me so much that it became like my favorite Harry song. And I listened to it like constantly.
Absolutely.
So I hope that they don't just take the first clip where I said lame and then because
we wouldn't ever do that to you.
I saw a clip today or a couple days ago on TikTok where I was messing with a fan because I saw a thing on the search bar that said Joshua Bassett rude to fans. And I was like, hold on. And I clicked on it and it's me, a fan being like, hey, I didn't get a picture. And I think I said like too bad or sucks. And I turned away and I immediately turned back and
But you were being funny.
Right. I immediately turned back and go, just kidding, let's take a photo.
But
But they
somebody's trying to
cut
get
it
views.
off. And so it looks like I just go sucks and walk away. I was like, dude, like, anyways, so.
The audacity.
I know.
We're here to set the record straight.
You heard it here first, folks. Don't believe everything you see on the internet.
Took that photo.
Yes.
No, we wouldn't ever do that to you. But yeah, this song is incredible. And you had a really good top 3. That was a really solid top 3
Hey, thanks.
of songs. You guys can go and listen to the album The Golden Years, available now on Apple Music. Thank you for taking the time
Thanks
to
for
come hang
having
out
me.
and talk nonsense with me and talk about this incredible debut album. You should be really, really proud.
Thank you very much.